Hi, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Michigan State University EMBA Alumni Association, my name is Todd Clem. I'd like to thank you for joining us for the Executive Spartan's Journey, a panel discussion led by Dan Walsh, our moderator and Executive MBA class of 1992. Dan is a former senior executive at AT&T and joins us as MSU's executive in residence for the Broad College of Business. Briefly introducing our panelists. I know you can't see them just yet. We do have a limitation of 3 cams, so we're going to kind of pop them in as we ask questions to them, that kind of thing. But just briefly introducing them, we have Jack Kristan, is EMBA class of 2013. He is a partner at Plante Moran. Shelly Otenbaker, EMBA class of 2010. She's the president at WayPoint Marketing Communications. Meagan Dunn, EMBA class of 2015, the vice president for programs at the YWCA of Kalamazoo, and Chavez, EMBA class of 2019, director of launch quality at Yanfeng Automotive Interiors. Each of them are here to share their stories on how they leverage the EMBA network to move from an individual contributor into leadership, become an entrepreneur or start a business, change careers, or rebound from a job loss. The format for this discussion will be roundtable, very conversational, nothing to actually present, as you'll see. So if at any time you have a question or comment, please feel free to pop in the chat and we'll make sure to interject. So without further ado, please welcome our panel and take it away, Dan.
Well, thank you. This is such a great topic and so timely in terms of what's going on in the world today. So I'm really excited to be part of this. For those of you that I have not met, I am a double Spartan grad. I got my first degree in engineering from MSU, and then I went through the what was at the time called the AMP program. And so very excited to be here. I currently serve as a executive in residence for Michigan State. And what I do is I spend a lot of time with the full-time and executive MBA students. And it's really gratifying work. So really what we're talking about today is how do you engage your network? And how do you take advantage of what you're doing in your or what you did in your MBA program and leverage that? And we have some great panelists to talk to today. And so first, I'm going to talk Jack. Jack, are you there?
Yep, I'm just getting my camera turned on.
Okay, Jack, you really, as part of your MBA program, moved from an individual contributor to a leadership role. And I'm wondering if you could just spend a little time talking to the audience about how that felt, how that worked out for you, and what the MBA program did to contribute to your success.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Dan. So I think I started in the MBA program. I was a senior consultant, actually. By the time I left, I was a senior manager. So in a fairly short window of time, progressed into kind of an early leadership role at the firm and have since become a partner at our firm. I think the things that I found most valuable in that progression, though, so I'm actually a triple Spartan. I have a BS of econometrics, I have a BA of finance from Michigan State, and then obviously the EMBA as well. The classes around negotiation, entrepreneurship, what a lot of people don't realize is at a public accountancy and consulting firm like Plante Moran, a lot of people think it's a company, it's a firm. We are all entrepreneurs under a common flag, is the way I like to talk about this. And so I really learned a lot about being able to find what I was passionate about and building a business within a larger organization. I think the other thing that has been so crucial is, in fact, the network. If you're in a consultancy or professional services firm, you could be the greatest project manager in the world. You could be the most technically savvy service delivery person. But if you don't have a network and you can't help grow the firm through what we call practice development, but let's call it what it is, it's selling new business, you will have a ceiling that you will hit. So you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset. And so classes like entrepreneurship, negotiations was really instrumental because I deal with contracts all day, and having to be really savvy in contracts and legal terms is really instrumental in working in concert with my legal counsel in my practice. So that's my high level summary. I don't want to take up too much more time.
No, Jack, that was great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And a triple Spartan. I'm impressed. That was really good. So Meagan, are you out there? Hi, Meagan. Meagan, you really changed careers as you left your MBA program. And one of my favorite people of all time, Dave Bing. I grew up as a Detroit Pistons fan and it was a big Dave Bing fan, but you worked in politics and then in corporate, went to the Ford Health System and then to the YMCA. Can you talk about your transition and kind of how the MBA program helped facilitate the growth that you had in your career?
Absolutely. So I've been fortunate enough that I've spent my career working in mission-driven organizations. So my time with the city of Detroit in the mayor's office, and my time at Henry Ford Health System as a director, and now in my position at the YWCA as the vice president of programs, the constant in all of that is my work has really been focused on mission outreach and community impact. And one of the reasons I wanted to get my MBA, which is not a traditional route for many people that work sort of in this mission-driven work, is because I wanted to be able to connect the outcomes of the work that we were doing with the greater business community. So there's a part of nonprofit and mission-driven work where it's about passion and it's about really working in a mission to serve the community. And then there's a full different side that's really focused on ensuring that a nonprofit is managed well from a strategic standpoint. There are so many mergers happening within nonprofits in Southeast and Southwest Michigan. So that's a whole different skill set that I'm grateful that in taking our M&A classes and our strategy classes and to the last speaker, am I muted? Oh, okay. Okay. I just saw in the chat that I was muted, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing all that talking and
no, I can hear you.
So really wanted to get that MBA to really sharpen a lot of the other skills other than what I had learned, just from my professional career. So grateful, to be in an integrated program like the EMBA because, I was in a team, and as many of you were, with engineers, with finance people, with accountants, with folks that worked in supply chain. And so I learned as much from my team as I did from my professors. And I really loved the program. And I have to really, I think one of the reasons I was able to pivot into this new role that I've been in since December is I think the nonprofit was attracted to the fact that I had the MBA. They really liked that I could put a business, have the business acumen really to take our organization from what I would call a mid-level nonprofit and grow it as we are looking to merge with and eventually do some different partnerships with similar nonprofits within our space. So, I learned all of those skills in the EMBA program. And so what I would say is, don't be afraid to get out of the comfort zone. I could have easily gone and get a different master's degree, but really took advantage of this program because of what I knew I wanted to learn and how I wanted to impact the nonprofit space moving forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love your Detroit poster over your shoulder. That looks awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that. Shelly, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Shelly. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. So you really changed careers as you kind of exited the program. Can you talk about what you went through and how the Michigan State MBA program really helped facilitate your growth?
Yeah. So I went from being a marketing professional that worked at a marketing communications agency to starting my own company and starting my own marketing communications agency. So although I didn't shift necessarily what I was doing and in the field I was doing, it certainly was a big leap from a leader at a company to the owner of a company. So it takes on a whole different set of responsibilities and stresses and rewards as well. So, and I am a graduate of 2010. So I started my journey in the MBA program as we were going into the Great Recession. So it was quite a time to be going to school and learning from my colleagues who were in crisis every day with the suppliers and the OEMs and the professionals that I was working with, that I was in school with, were working every day just to keep their companies alive. And so we not only learned from our professors, but from what was going on around us. And to understand the resiliency of people and businesses as part of that whole educational program was pretty interesting, especially as we're looking at the time that we have just gone through in 2020. So I just echo what everybody else said. I think the professors and the classes that I experienced opened my eyes to different opportunities, different ways of thinking. I sharpened my skills in a lot of different areas. And then working with my classmates, again, just opening your eyes to a whole different way of doing business and thinking differently. And I think it gave me the courage that I needed to take that leap, to go on my own before, meeting the people that I did at the class and did during school, and I did, and the professors, and even the administrators, even John Miller, who was the administrator when I was there. All of those folks helped give me more courage and more confidence in myself that this was something that I could do successfully.
Yeah, that's such so insightful. I really felt like when I graduated from the MBA program that I came back into the business world with a new set of skills, but most importantly with a new set of confidence in who I was and what I could do. So that's really great. Mr. Chavez, are you out there?
Hello, and Andres Chavez. Thank you for having me on this great meeting. So I don't know if you remember me. Actually, I had the pleasure to meet you in a networking call one-to-one back in July 6th of 2020. We had the pleasure to talk for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
And actually, I have to tell the audience the story, because precisely what you predicted is exactly what I did, and I'm very glad I followed your recommendation, by the way. So, folks, just my story is a little bit crazy, because I did leave the company that I had worked for almost 20 plus years, which was FCA, Chrysler, Stellantis now, different names. And I decided to pursue, after my MBA degree, just exactly as Dan said, the preparation and the self-confidence and the networking that the EMBA gave me, allow me to take a personal decision to leave the company after 20 plus years. Very successful career at FCA. I'm very glad, great company, great team, great leadership. But I decided to basically look for a second opportunity and a second, what I call a second professional life, to write a second chapter of my professional career. And decided to leave in February 2020. And you know what happened after around March of 2020, the whole thing came down. The financial situation, the commercial situation, all the job opportunities basically came down to zero. But I had a great opportunity that I was planning for it. So in some way, I had a cushion, a financial cushion. So I was not in desperate mode. Although for a person that has been always working many hours a day, it was a big change. But then what I did is basically start getting together with some of my network friends from the Spartan world, but also from other companies and other areas, and start basically doing my journey to start hunting for my new opportunity. As I said in the beginning, I had a chance to sit down with Dunn, and actually he gave me a very good recommendation, which I really follow. He said, perhaps before you go to the target point where you want to be, you want to take a middle step in between, and that's exactly what happened. I did interview for many jobs, folks. I can tell you, I interview for many positions in many companies, different than Automotive. Perhaps I was looking also for the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry. I was looking for opportunities in Michigan. But then I basically took a step in between. I started working in Lordstown, the new EV company, as a quality director. A fantastic company, great leadership. But I did follow up on in one of my aspirations, which was to work for the company I work for today, which is Yanfeng. Is so much innovation in this company and so much growth that really took my attention since the beginning. And just as part of the networking, I did interview for a few jobs back in March and April of last year, and I didn't get the job until March this year, almost a year after. So my recommendation is all about the networking. It's about to have this coaching and partnership together, and have some people like Dan and like my good friend Jane Evarian, right, as your partner and coach, because the journey is long sometimes, but if you have someone that is helping you in this journey, it makes your life easier, right? For the challenge. So that's a quick reference on my professional life.
That's awesome, and thank you for joining me on that call. I've had the opportunity over the last almost 2 years to talk to 80 plus of the full-time and executive MBA students at Michigan State, and I am just I'm honored and really enjoy all of the opportunities that I've had to talk to people like you, and I'm so glad that things worked out. This is all about really leveraging your partners, and your partners are the people that, frankly, you have a very unique connection. From the fact that there are Spartans out there that are willing to help, and that's when I decided to retire after 38 years at AT&T, I got to know Sherry and Sanjay and Jane and all the people that you all know, and they asked me what I wanted to do. I really wanted to give back to Spartans around the world, and so I've had the opportunity to do that, and it's been crazy. It's been amazing. So if you would, and I'm going to move on to, let's go back to Jack. Jack, can you talk about how you were able to leverage your relationships with fellow Spartans, and how that helped you as you progressed in your career?
So I think there's a couple ways to look at that. I think first and foremost, what's important is you have an opportunity, at least in the microcosm of the cohort that you're in, to really build deep relationships with your team members. And I always think that's a great starting point. It's always comfortable to kind of lean on those relationships with the people you're closest to. As time has gone on, as I've gotten involved in, and I will admit, I'm probably not the most active member of the Alumni Association, but I keep in touch with a lot of people through LinkedIn and other medium. In the before times, I traveled 70-80% of the time. And I have a philosophy that I should never eat alone. And so if I was traveling anywhere, I would find a Spartan in whatever town I was going to and say, hey, you want to catch up, grab a cup of coffee, grab dinner, and really use that to build relationships. And And we really have a philosophy, and I think if you're there to help people and not try to sell them something, and again, I realize because we have entrepreneurs on the line, and it's obviously a big part of what I do is trying to develop business. But if you really look at it from, I'm here to help you, how can I help you? How can you help me? I think it's maybe an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people, but people want to help you. Like genuinely people, you'll be surprised in your life how much people want to help you. And as you build those connections, people say, I don't really have anything for you, but let me get you in touch with Joe. Let me get you in touch with Samantha, or whatever that might look like. And say, you should really get to know this person. And that has gone a long way in me being able to give somebody some free, some advice on, just thinking through a business issue. I mean, that's what we learn in this program is how do you think, how do you use those critical thinking skills to think through business issues? And I mean, it's been to one of the people on my team, those for class 2013 in the weekend program may remember Omar DeMar. I think he's here today. He started a donut shop, and he called me and said, you know what? Would you look at my business plan? Be brutal with it. Just what do you think? And I had a blast. I genuinely enjoyed doing that with him and just saying, well, have you thought about this? What happens if this happens? And I think those were great. That's the stuff that I found that to be a lot of fun in the post MBA life is when people reach out and say, I got an idea. What do you think? And similar as I've been trying to build my practice, I've said, is this something that, organizations are talking about? I'm passionate about it. Is this something that's going to resonate? And people will give you an hour of their time anytime.
Yeah, Jack, I completely agree. And I'm often amazed at my Spartan family. I smile because I am really, really good friends with three people that were on my freshman floor on East Wilson when I first went through Michigan State, and that was 1975, so that was a long time ago. And I'm really, really close with so many members of my MBA class, which graduated in 1992. So it's so important to stay connected, and those connections will help you in ways that you don't really know. So Shelly, can you talk a little bit about your kind of connections to the Spartan world and how that might have helped you as you worked going into an entrepreneurial position?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, they've been incredibly fruitful for me for many different reasons. So I have clients that are in a lot of different industries, and a lot of times I can tap into the network of people that I went through the program with, or that are alumni, and create mutually beneficial relationships. I'm always looking for an opportunity to connect two people that I think can help each other, whether it's a great person for a hire, or a supplier partner relationship, or whatever it might be. So having that network, and I actually spent some time after I graduated with the alumni, sort of reinvigorating the alumni board. So it sort of kind of faded a little bit, and then we reinvigorated it, and so very active with several years after graduation, and then the board now is continuing. It has taken it to the next level, really. So that's amazing that there are these opportunities for the alumni to continue to get together and talk and share and have excuses to meet younger or newer graduates of the program, or those that are going through it. So it continues. Your network continues to grow and build. And so much so, you can trace connections back that I have clients now that I work with I wouldn't have met if I wasn't part of this network. So, it really, those relationships not only help you grow as a person, they can help you grow grow your business and be a part of your success. They certainly were a part of my success and continue to be as we grow the business. And again, you continue to learn from them and gain from what they're learning as they're continuing to advance in their careers. So it's an incredibly powerful network, and they're incredibly generous, as Jack said. People will really give you time and help you get connected, and that's a true testament to what being a Spartan's all about, really. So
yeah, you are so right. And I think about many times in my career where I was surprised by a Spartan who reached out. One just quick example, I was doing some business with American Airlines, and it wasn't going as well as I had hoped it would be going. And there was a fellow Spartan who I didn't know who was in the IT group, and she reached out to me and actually started to coach me on how to make it happen. And it's just amazing how that all works. So that's so insightful, and I really appreciate it. So Meagan, what can you talk a little bit about how you've been able to leverage the Spartan network?
Absolutely. So first, I should say that I believe in building networks and relationships is just key to really to so much. So connecting with this network was very different for me in that, again, it's when you run in the circles of nonprofit work and mission-driven work, a lot of people, kind of are in a lot of the same circles. So when I started this journey for my EMBA, I was in a whole different space and as everyone knows here, what our classes look like, very, diverse in terms of the industries. So it was a very different space for me. And it would have been easy to be intimidated and just kind of go, sit in my corner and do my work. But fortunately, being able to leverage those relationships has really been helpful, particularly since I've spent my whole career and grew up in Southeast Michigan and now transitioning to Kalamazoo of Southwest Michigan. And so one of the first things in this transition is I'm reaching out to Spartans that are on the west side of the state. And that will be an excellent, connection for me as my family and I start to get connected to the community there. So I think that will be, it's a whole new adventure. And I think tapping into this network will be really helpful as I am starting to get connected into the community, and my husband, who's an entrepreneur, can also get connected as well. So, I just think that leveraging these relationships will certainly be helpful as I move. And then, when I was considering leaving healthcare, leaving a large nonprofit healthcare organization headquartered in Detroit to make the career move to a mid-sized nonprofit in Southwest Michigan, I leaned on the advice of my team 2015, and also of some of the friendships and friends that I developed while in the program. So I think Chris Alexander is on here. He and I catch up every now and again. There's a few different people from my class that I really look to as, here are the people that I've grown to know in a different space in my life, but that I value their opinions enough to say, hey, I'm going to put this out here in a very sort of vulnerable way of, should I take this job? And the feedback that I got was incredible. And so not only of my class, but I also keep in touch with several of my professors. So Cindy from Strategy, she and I talk fairly often on Facebook. In fact, I tried to attract her to Henry Ford Health System for a chief strategy officer position. So, I think it really goes back and forth, right? So, how can I help, any of my fellow Spartans, and how can I depend on this network for when I'm making really critical career decisions? And now that we're moving to the west side of the state, how can I get help from, people that are already there that can assist in our move? So, I think the thing about networking is that it's back and forth, right? And I think that's I think that's the key to creating really genuine connections. And so it doesn't feel like you're creating a relationship or even reaching out to a Spartan that's someone that you don't know, is having the ability to, being able to offer up whatever it is that you can in your skill set. So,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And frankly, when I did choose to retire, my first thought was, how do I help fellow Spartans? And I've been so blessed in being able to do that. And the family is so incredible. You talk about Dean Gupta and Sherry, I think, is on this call, Sherry DeClerc and Jana Varian, and all the people who you can have access to, all right, to help you. It's so amazing. Andres, can you talk a little bit about how you've leveraged, other than me, and you and I had a chance to meet as you were thinking about what you were going to do. Can you talk about how you've leveraged the relationships from fellow Spartans?
Yeah, absolutely. I did, as you can imagine, I did vast connection with my fellow Spartan, friends. Actually, people that I didn't even know that are actually in the west side of the country, east side. I actually even contact people in the international side of the world. And while I was looking for the opportunity for work, so for me, it was extremely important to have this connection and to have this partnership, because it was very enlightening, some of the feedback and the comments that I was able to get from many of them, and not just from the professional side, but also kept me going from the situation that basically last year, related to how tough it was. Right, for a few months, right, I was basically looking for a job, and for me, it was very relaxing, I have to say, the opportunity to talk to so many professional people, and again, all of them offer me great coaching, great partnership, great opportunities. I did get several opportunities with different team members from different companies. I did get a few interviews that I was able to get from opportunities from them. And again, so I think it was very important, specifically to my condition, my situation, to have this leverage of opportunity, right? Because it was very meaningful for me, especially personally going through this tough time of trying to get a position out there, right? So I was able to leverage that and also learn a lot of the input. Sometimes you don't gain by or you don't gain just because you don't have the opportunity. Also, don't be afraid. I will say, don't be afraid to reach out people that you don't know, right? In my case, I did reach a lot of people I didn't know, and sometimes people maybe shy a little bit about to do that. Don't be afraid. People is, I was very much surprised how people is open mind and they're welcoming you to have a conversation with you. Especially now with all the opportunities we have through the virtual world. And I did that, right? I did hundreds of phone calls, hundreds of calls, hundreds of virtual, opportunities with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm going to ask each of you to think about kind of one piece of advice that you would give to the folks on the call. And before I do that, I would just talk. I just want to thank Todd and the entire team, the board and the programs committee for bringing this kind of an event to all of you. I think it's incredible, and it's another example about how Spartans help Spartans, and it's just amazing. So Todd, thank you for doing this. I think it's timely. I mean, the world that we're living in right now with everything that went on from a COVID perspective, leveraging your Spartan relationships is incredibly important. And I just want to thank Todd, and I know Sherry and team have done similar things in East Lansing, and it's just the commitment from fellow Spartans to help each other is amazing. So I'll just go down the list. Andres, I'll start back with you. Can you, one piece of advice that you would give the folks on the call? It can be about
absolutely.
anything.
Yes, no, absolutely. Reach out for, partnership, right? And again, especially you are planning to take a journey where you will need support and where you will need that hand, even just for a quick conversation or for some advice or for some professional feedback, do that, right? Grow your networking in essence by looking to what you want to do in the future and just keep it going. Actually, I'm very happy to tell you I have been continuing the relationship with many people that I don't even know. I don't have the pressure to know them. One day I say I will go to California or to Oregon to meet you. But again, I think grow the partnership, have people around you to help you with any journey, a personal journey, a professional journey, is always there, right? People, you will be very surprised how much people want to help each other, especially in the Spartan family. And that's what I will say.
Yeah, great advice. Meagan, can you share kind of your takeaway from your Spartan relationships and some advice that you would give to the people on the call?
Right. Well, I have to I saw another question here, which I thought was interesting. How do you know when it's time to make the transition? But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So I would just say be genuine and be authentic, right? And so if you're always that way, in your communication with your with fellow Spartans or really in any of your networks. So if you are that way, then you'll really draw people, and I think people would be really willing to listen and to help. I have, people have approached me and I could just feel that the request was just not very genuine. And when I say that, it was just like someone's just trying to get some information, solely for, their own growth, I suppose. And that's really just not the way to do it. So, I believe in connecting genuinely with people. And so I would encourage anyone listening to really just think through what you want to do and how you want to connect with people. And so I've been able to successfully transition to different sectors because I really built sustainable and well-meaning partnerships with other people that have been willing to look back or look to the side and help me. And because I've also been willing to help them, which was a point that I made earlier, because I really do think, collaboration, partnerships, networking, it's really about how one person can help another and vice versa.
Yeah, Meagan, I have to ask, I'm a bit of a sports geek, and growing up, Dave Bing was just he was what I wanted to be. So how was Dave Bing as a coworker and maybe a boss?
He was an incredible leader. So when I worked with Dave Bing, I was the press secretary for his administration. And he was one of the hardest working people that I've ever met. So whatever, he was the first one in the office and he was the last person to leave. And he was the mayor. So, mayors have lots of other things to do, but he really wanted to establish that sort of culture of his commitment to the work that he wanted to do for the city of Detroit. And he and I still stay in contact. He was also one of the people that I talked to about making the transition to Kalamazoo. And he is, so when I say genuine, so he's Dave Bing, he's the Hall of Famer, he's the former mayor, he's all these things, but he is a very genuine person that believes in genuine and real connections. And he really taught me that. So really incredible to work with. After I got, the starry eyes away, he's been so great to work with. And he has such a great heart. I adore working with Mayor Bing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So Jack, we're going to open this up for questions here in a minute, but Jack, can you share kind of your key takeaway and one thing that you want to share with the group?
I think a lot of people have said it in other words, but it's investing in those relationships and being yourself. Going through my path and being a partner at a firm, being a cookie cutter yes person is not a genuine way to be, and you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, I guess. But really investing in your relationships, and in my case, whether that's through the network or investing in your team members, and sometimes that takes a lot of time, it takes extra effort. But when your team, and I love the example of Dave Bing, but when the people that you work for know that you're going to go the extra mile for them, they're going to do it, tenfold for you and do amazing things. So I would just say the word I always use is invest. So invest in it, and it will pay the dividends.
Yeah, very cool, Jack. And Meagan, actually, I'm sorry, Shelly. Can you share kind of your key takeaway in terms of how you've leveraged the Spartan network and what kind of advice you would give to people on the call?
Yeah, I echo everything that's been said already, and I guess to take a little bit of a different stance on it, to build on it, is to see every interaction as an opportunity. After I finished my MBA, I had time on my hand, right? So instead of just wasting my time like going back to watching TV or whatever, I decided that I wanted to get involved in a nonprofit. And I went to my team members and to different people within the MSU network and asked where I should go. And I got an opportunity to be on the board of the Michigan Science Center. And it's gone through its ups and downs. It's been very challenging over the last 10 years, but it has led to a number of door openings. So always looking for those opportunities, I think, and in the midst of the COVID pandemic, again, very challenging time, but making sure that you're staying connected and looking for opportunities as you're meeting new people and navigating these challenging times. So, just to build on everybody, just to make sure that things may be challenging, you may be taking on maybe more than you want, but there's always, I think if you look hard enough, there's always opportunities for you to grow both personally and professionally. If you take advantage of, not take advantage of, but leverage the network that you're building.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. Leverage. You're not taking advantage of anybody. Fellow Spartans want to help fellow Spartans. And,
yeah.
It's really cool. I know when I graduated from the MBA program, I felt like I had a new set of skills that I could go leverage. And I was one of those that went from my company kind of paid for me to go through the program, and I went back to the same company when I graduated, and I was able to leverage my new skill sets. You didn't do that, right? You did it a little differently. So can you talk about it's all about timing, and it's all about when do you leverage your new skills? Can you talk about how that worked out for you?
Yeah, and there was a question about, how do you know when to change industries, or how do you know when to make a change? And I will tell you just from my personal experience that I kept waiting. Like, there's going to be a perfect time for me to leave what I'm doing and start my business, or, I'll just wait until this happens, or I'll just wait until that happens. And there really wasn't a perfect time. Certainly you can be prepared and understand the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses. And really what I walked away with to start my business, I felt that there was a different way that an agency could serve, a marketing communications agency could serve clients. And I wanted to target small to medium-sized businesses because I felt like those were the people that could really benefit from having expertise. And there was a better way to deliver those expertise in a more value-added way. So getting rid of some of the overhead expenses, building networks of people that can be called on when they're needed, and not necessarily having to pay them the whole entire time. So I felt there was this better business model. And I think, again, I learned that through, part of it through education, and part of it through just talking with people that were working in small to medium-sized businesses that were alumni, just having access to these people. So that's really where the foundation of me starting out on my own came from, was that I felt that there was an audience that needed help, and that there was a way that so they could get benefit from the expertise of marketing, people who've been in marketing forever, and do it in a cost-effective way. So that's sort of what made me want to make the change, and really we've kept that moving. That's been the foundation of the company almost 7 years later. So we still believe in that, and we still work to that. So
yeah, that's awesome, Shelly. How did you end up at MSU? Did you have Spartans in your blood, in your family blood, or?
Yeah, so I wanted to go to state for my undergrad, actually, because I wanted to be a veterinarian. So marketing. And I played basketball. I'm relatively tall. So I actually was in MSU. I was planning to go there, and then I decided that I wanted to play basketball in college. And so I was not good enough to play at state, or they said I wasn't good enough to play there. So I got my undergrad at Northern, Northern Michigan University. So I've always loved Spartans. My mom and dad are both Spartan alums as well. So, and so when I was going back to get my MBA, I looked at a number of different programs, but green and white run in my blood, I guess. So it only seemed right to go to this program, and I'm thrilled that that's what I selected. And I don't think I could have benefited as much as I did from other programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Jack, you out there, Jack?
Are you popping up there? Here we go.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Jack, talk a little bit about how you ended up becoming a Spartan, and really, as you moved from your individual contributor to a team leader, how did you know the time was right?
So as I mentioned, I did my undergraduate at MSU, and I had actually started my career in the automotive industry, in manufacturing finance. I loved it, but company that I was at was not doing a great job, and I needed a change, and I really wanted to be a plant controller, and I was recommended to be assistant plant controller at that point, and they said, well, you're not a CPA, you're not an MBA, so if this is what you want to do, you better go get one of those. And at the time, I was 25 and inherently a cheap person. I said, well, I'll go work and get my CPA license. And so there's not a grand plan. And I saw somebody said, how do you decide to go where next in your career? It was not a grand plan. It was I knew somebody at the firm. They were starting an internal audit and risk management group, and I had done that at the company I was going to be leaving. So it seemed like, okay, I can do this for a couple of years, and then I'm going to figure it out. I stayed really because of the culture there, but I also felt in a consulting practice, being credentialized with an MBA is pretty important. That's not to say that everybody at our firm is an MBA, but to get into those higher levels of leadership, and I can even go back to and it's not here because it's unfortunately quarantined in our building, but our first organizational development class, I still keep that book with me. And how do you make decisions and when to delegate those to the team? I still refer to that stuff. I still pull that kind of stuff out, and I thought that was great. So it's 7 years since I've completed the program. Or 8 years. I still think it's great that I refer to those kinds of materials, and I still find them useful.
Yep.
I think those were the things that I found most enlightening about the programs. I figured, like undergrad, I would maybe hold on the books as a trophy. I still look at the materials, and I still refer to certain things when I'm maybe not sure about the right decision path.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's great advice. Andres, can you talk about how you became a Spartan and your one key takeaway?
Well, first generation Spartan, my company sponsored the program. So that was the way that it went through. By the way, my son is now an Spartan in college, so he's following a great career there. And I share the comments from all the panelists. I think this family, it is an amazing, strong bonding family that we have to take leverage, and we have to take care of each other. I call it the band of brothers, right? I still see some of my friends from our class, and we typically take care of each other, just to say hello or to consult each other or ask for favors and ask for help. And again, it's all about networking for me. In my life, actually, I have been called the bonding agent, the glue. In my old company, I used to be called the glue. And precisely is because partnership and networking, I believe, is the foundation for anything that can happen in the life or during life, right? So thank you.
Yeah, Andre, and you're a great example for me of people ask me why I spend time with the students at Michigan State, and I tell folks that I learn more from them than they learn from me. And you're a perfect example of that. So thank you for spending time.
No, thank you.
Not just tonight, but the time that you and I got to spend together.
No, thank you. Looking forward for another opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Meagan, can you just kind of share your path to Michigan State and final thoughts?
Sure. So the Chief Human Resources Officer from Henry Ford Health System, I think was like maybe a consultant or on the board. Kathy Oswald was on the board for the EMBA program, or maybe she had some sort of role with it. And she was a mentor of mine when I was at Henry Ford. And when I was talking to her about wanting to grow my career and wanting to really expand outside of the typical community role, she is the person that recommended this program. And so when I had my first sort of interview with John Miller, whom I still adore. I had my first interview with John Miller, and I said, John, I'm not sure if this is going to be a good fit for me. This is my background. I don't have a typical sort of finance, accounting, engineering background. So how will I fit? And John was so encouraging on that very first sort of informal interview that he and I had, that I felt as soon as that meeting was over that this was the right program for me. And I'm so grateful for that. So those two people really kind of helped guide me on my journey to this program. And I've learned so much from it, and I've gained so many relationships from it that I'm so glad that it happened. And I'd just like to also end with, and I know we only have a few minutes, there's been questions around how do you know when it's time to move, right? And so I was at Henry Ford for 10 years. It's an excellent organization. I'm so glad that I spent the time there. But I saw the writing on the wall that I didn't see a next step for me in terms of my career and development. And so although I'm in a different space now, I really had to just take the leap and feel comfortable and confident enough that, it's time to break away from what I've been doing for this amount of time and just, again, have that confidence to just try it out. I don't think that, we don't have to be in any role for 15 or 20 years anymore. We can try something out for a few years. And if it doesn't work, then let's move on to the next. So, and I think actually this program, our EMBA program, helped me find that too. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as, you never know when the time is right, but you know inherently inside when you are at a point where you feel like there's either no growth or you're really unhappy. And I think if anything, COVID-19 has taught us is to spend the time in your work that makes you happy. So do that and you'll do.
Yeah, so well said. Really, so well said. Jack, Shelly, Meagan, Andres, I can't thank you guys enough. I feel like I've made 4 new friends, Spartan friends, and it's just awesome. I would just put a plug in for the leadership team at Michigan State, Dean Gupta and Sherry, who the clerk who's on the call. Just there's so many resources that Michigan State provides, and it's just been fabulous to get to know them. Todd, I'm so proud, excuse me, of you and the team for bringing this to everybody. And why don't you take us out? And,
No,
and go green.
Go white.
Yeah,
No,
right.
we really appreciate it, a huge thank you, Dan, and our panelists, Jack, Shelly, Meagan, Andres. Your stories and insight are greatly appreciated and are really, I think it's invaluable to our network, our attendees. Thank you to everyone for attending today's discussion. We really appreciate your time and hope you found it as valuable as well. I encourage you to reflect on what our panelists have shared. Even reach out to them if you have follow-up questions. If there's one takeaway we hope you've gained, it's most important to know that whatever situation you find yourself in, you have a strong and supportive EMBA network behind you. So please don't be afraid to reach out, connect, ask questions, and even pay it forward, as our panelists and Dan is doing today. So a couple quick things to note. Within the handouts tab in the upper right corner there, you can access the panelists information. So direct links to their LinkedIn if you want to reach out to them. Just some brief information on them. Again, feel free to reach out to them. They would welcome that. Also, this event was recorded and will be shared on our EMBA alumni social media platform, so you can reference and rewatch in your leisure. And stay tuned to our social media platforms for future events, including networking events. Quick plug, such as our golf outing later in the summer. We hope to see you all there. Once we're able to get outside and get through the COVID. So, on behalf of the Michigan State University EMBA Alumni Association, thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.